In the present case, having considered the terms of the provisional measures requested by South Africa and the circumstances of the case, the court finds that the measures indicated need not be identical to those requested. The court considers that, with regard to the present situation, Israel must, in accordance with its obligations under the Genocide Convention, in relation to Palestinians in Gaza, take all measures within its power to prevent the commission of all acts within the scope of Article 2 of the Convention, in particular, A, killing members of the group, B, causing serious bodily or mental harm to members of the group, C, deliberately inflicting on the group conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part, and D, imposing measures intended to prevent births within the group.
Now, let's get some analysis on all of this with Nour Odeh. She's a Palestinian political analyst and former spokesperson for the Palestinian Authority, joining me now from Ramallah. Nour, as always, it's good to have you on this news hour on what is a historic day. What's your take on what we saw at the ICJ? Was it something that you expected, or were you hoping for a ceasefire?
Well, realistically, I think this ruling exceeded most expectations. If you take a look at how many judges voted in favor of all those measures, you get a picture of basically almost a unanimous vote, the only dissenting one being that of the judge from Uganda who stood by the ad hoc judge from Israel. The measures ordered by the court would necessarily require that Israel lift its siege, stop its bombardment, and stop its ground invasion of Gaza. Otherwise, it would not be in compliance with all the measures that were ordered by the court that include ensuring that no physical or psychological harm is done to the population in violation of the convention. There were a lot of concerns about political pressure applied on the judges. That did not fall through. Israel wanted the court to throw out the case. It failed. And now it will stand in judgment accused of genocide. This is seismic in terms of international law, in terms of international politics, and the dynamics that will follow will be very significant, because this is not just about Israel. It's about what the signatories of this convention will do to be in compliance themselves with those orders, and those orders are binding legally for all of them.
Those orders are binding, but do you think Israel is actually going to follow through? Because there's no way of enforcing this. And this, of course, is the major concern, that the situation will just get worse now for people in Gaza.
Well, Israel has acted for decades like a rogue state. It has never really accepted or complied with international law and international resolutions, including a previous ruling by the ICJ on its illegal wall in the occupied West Bank. Having said that, what's different now is that this convention and these rulings, these orders by the court, are binding to the members, to the states that have signed on to the convention, which enjoys near universal endorsement. And so these countries will have to make sure they're not complicit. That means that they need to ponder on their economic relations with Israel, on their arms trades with Israel, on their positions and how they vote at the United Nations, if there are resolutions concerning a ceasefire, a lifting of the siege. There are a lot of ramifications here that are not up to Israel, and that will make it more difficult for Israel to maintain this genocidal war. Keep in mind that the largest trading partner for Israel, for example, is the European Union. All members of that union are party to the convention. They are obliged by international law and by their own national laws to comply with these orders. We'll see how that pans out, and we'll see what kind of pressure they have domestically. And there will be pressure domestically for them to take active measures that will set them apart from Israel and anybody enabling it to continue this genocide.
And the EU has actually issued a statement saying that they hope that Israel does follow the rulings that were issued today. Nour, I'm wondering, how significant is this case for the broader Palestinian struggle when it comes to statehood and recognition, a two-state solution? Is it moving the needle closer to a two-state solution, or because of everything that we've seen happen since October 7th, are we a little further away from that?
Look, I know and I understand and I feel why so many Palestinians are disappointed that not a clear-cut call for ceasefire was issued. But in the grand scheme of things, this is a very pivotal moment. And the fact that the world is not only forced now to use these international mechanisms to hold Israel to account, but to also recognize that Palestinians have inalienable rights that must be respected, does move the needle closer to self-determination and independence. This is not an issue that should in any way be affected by a veto by the colonizer, by Israel, or its enablers for that matter. And I think this moment brought on by South Africa is a wake-up call to the West that this international system cannot be used only and exclusively for the benefit of the agendas of Western governments. It must be useful and applicable and relevant to all peoples. And that's what this ruling also means. It means the Palestinians are not an exception to the rules of the universality of human rights, that their lives are not expendable, as Israel would have wanted the world to act and to say. And that is significant. It will, like I said, have ramifications. It is a snowball, if you will, that I think could grow momentously if allies around the world use their leverage and their influence in a strategic manner in different capitals.
It will be interesting to see if that does happen. Nour Odeh in Ramallah, thank you so much for speaking to us. Well,